Hi, I'm Paul Kozak with FSIS, and welcome to N60 Sampling Update. This video will show you how to perform an N60 sampling. In the next few minutes, we'll describe the N60 procedure, needed supplies, changes in sampling procedures, packaging, and shipping. So, what's an N60 sampling? It's a procedure used for taking trimmings and other ground beef or patty components to analyze for E. coli 0157H7. N60 sampling is also used for bench trim or when the use of beef product is unclear. Bench trim is defined as beef derived from cattle not slaughtered at the establishment. This trim may include secondary trimming of primals and subprimals resulting in small or large pieces, or any other cut for non-intact use. N60 sampling may be used for several different programs. The MT50 program is the routine test for beef trimmings. The MT54 program is the routine test for other raw ground beef or patty components. The MT55 program is the test for bench trim. The N60 method requires 60 thin slices from external beef surfaces. If the trim is too small, then collect enough trim pieces to equal 2 pounds. Don't use N60 sampling for intact product or source material intended for ready-to-eat products. There are two recent changes in size and packaging to the N60 procedure. First, the slice is smaller. It now measures 1 by 3 inches instead of 2 by 4 inches. The slice, however, is still 1/8 inch thick. The change doesn't affect the sensitivity of the test, and you'll continue to collect 60 samples. The second change is packaging. Instead of collecting and shipping the sample in one bag, you now use 2. The first WorldPack bag must contain the N60 thin pieces weighing 3/4 pounds. It just happens if you collect 60 1 by 3 inch samples, they weigh 3/4 pounds. The second WorldPack bag should hold about 1 1/4 pounds of additional samples and must be taken from the same production lot. These pieces should be from the same lot and don't need to be any particular size or counted. The weight of the 2 bags is still about 2 pounds. To perform N60 sampling, you need the following supplies: FedEx billable stamp with sample seal and ID labels, a sharp boning knife, a hook, a steel, sterile gloves, a cut-resistant mesh glove, and 2 sterile WorldPack bags. You'll also be provided a caddy, a large non-sterile plastic bag, a sterile drape, a sanitizable clip, a template, and sanitizing solution. It's critical that you use a very sharp knife when performing N60 sampling. Review the knife sharpening training DVD included with this N60 training package. If you're assigned to a processing plant and don't currently have a set of equipment, you can order equipment from the Western Lab. The new WorldPack sampling bags have a flat bottom, allowing the bags to stand by themselves. The sterile drape may be used in the event that you don't have a sanitizable surface near the sampling area. The clip may be used to attach the WorldPack sampling bag to the edge of the caddy or combo bin. Don't use the clip to touch the sterile surfaces of the WorldPack bags. Using either the sterile drape or sanitizable clip will depend on the configuration of the plant at which you're sampling. A template has been provided with the sampling supplies as a visual aid. The size dimensions of the template are the same size you need to collect for the N60 sampling in the first WorldPack bag. Don't place the template directly on the product, as this will cause contamination. Finally, you may order sanitizing solution from the Western Lab. You will use this solution to sanitize the caddy. If you use the clip, you will use this solution to sanitize it as well. Remember, whether you're assigned to a plant with slaughter duties or a plant that does processing only, it's your responsibility to minimize the chances for contaminating the sample. If you have slaughter duties and need to perform N60 sampling, take precautions when sampling after you visit the ante-mortem pens or inedible areas. These precautions may include washing and sanitizing your boots and helmet and putting on a clean coat or frock. Also, don't use plant equipment to collect the sample. Begin by randomly selecting a production lot. If a plant's lot is greater than 5 containers of trimmings, just select 5 containers. If the plant's production is 5 or less containers, you'll need to determine the correct number of pieces to collect from each container. If there are 5 containers in the production lot, select 12 pieces from each container. If there are 4 containers, select 15 pieces from each. If there are 3 containers, select 20 pieces from each. If there are 2 containers, select 30 pieces of each. If there's only 1 container, select all 60 pieces. The Notice Sample Collection Procedures for Beef Manufacturing Trimmings contains a chart showing this information. The plant can reduce its lot size to 1 container if it meets 2 conditions. First, the establishment has a validated intervention for E. coli 0157H7 at a critical control point, or CCP, in its HACCP plan, or requires its suppliers to have a CCP when a validated intervention is applied to the source materials used to manufacture the product. Second, it must sample and test every product lot for E. coli 0157H7 and generally collect samples across multiple combo bins or other sample units. This may include beef trimmings, other raw ground beef components, or raw ground beef products. If the plant meets these conditions and reduces its lot size to a single combo bin or sample unit, collect samples from that single combo bin or sample unit. Find a suitable workstation located near the production area to place your equipment. Clean and sanitize your workstation and caddy. If you don't have a sanitizable surface near where you'll be performing the sampling, use the sterile drape to create a surface to put your sanitized sampling equipment. If you're performing the sampling at the combo bin, sanitize the clip with the provided sanitizer. Then, while the caddy is drying, sanitize the knife, steel, and hook the same way the plant does. If the plant uses sanitizing solution, then use the plant's sanitizing solution according to label instructions. If the plant uses only hot water, then use hot water only to sanitize your sampling equipment. Remember, sanitizing solution is available from the Western Laboratory if there's no other way to sanitize the caddy. Wash your hands before opening the sterile WorldPak bags. Position them close to where you will take the samples. Use the mesh glove on the non-knife hand and put the sterile gloves over the mesh glove. Use aseptic techniques and follow the instructions provided in FSIS Directive 10,010.1 Revision 2. Aseptically collect the trimmings from 1 production lot. Remember, you'll collect 2 sample bags. From the first bag, collect 60 pieces as follows. Use the sanitized hook to position and anchor a piece of meat at the top of the container. Cut off a slice of the surface that is approximately 1 inch wide by 3 inches long and 1/8 inch thick from each of the 60 pieces. For larger trim, you may want to use a curved boning knife and short boning hook instead of the standard hook and standard boning knife. These are available from the Western Lab. To make cutting easier, score the surface in 2 parallel cuts. These cuts should be 1 inch apart and 3 to 4 inches long. This can make it easier to cut the sample to the right size. Make sure you collect samples from the original surface of the beef. It's important to keep the strips very thin and that you submit as much external surface as possible. Additionally, take care to ensure the samples contain minimal fat because fat can interfere with the test. Place each of the 60 samples in the sterile WorldPak bag. For the second bag, aseptically collect another 1 1/4 pounds of the smaller beef trimmings from the same production lot. These pieces should be representative of the lot, but as I explained earlier, don't need to cut them to any particular dimension or count them. In fact, you can just grab smaller pieces. Focus on collecting pieces with as much surface as possible and place the product in the second WorldPak bag. With a sanitized thermometer, check the temperature of the top pieces of trimmings from the containers. Don't take the temperature of the actual sample slices. If the sample pieces came from more than 1 container, record the temperature of the warmest piece of meat in block 21 of the sample request form. If the product is warmer than 40 degrees Fahrenheit, place the samples in a cooler to chill before shipping. Ensure the integrity of the samples. Don't freeze the sample unless freezing is a CCP for that specific production, because freezing the sample may alter the test. There are only two occasions when you freeze the sample. One, if the plant's HACCP plan has a CCP for freezing, and two, if the samples won't arrive at the laboratory within 48 hours. If the plant's HACCP plan has a CCP for freezing, collect the sample after the product passes all interventions except microbiological testing, including the CCP for freezing the product. Freezing may occur after microbiological testing. If this case happens, wait until the sample has passed the freezing CCP before collecting a sample. And keep frozen samples frozen. Otherwise, refrigerate samples held overnight. In all cases, ship the samples to the laboratory as soon as possible. Finally, completely fill out the sample request form. Ensure that information in block 28 is complete. When you're finished collecting the sample and have filled out the form, it's important to label and seal the containers properly. The labels and seal are included with the supplies. Directive 7355.1 Revision 2 explains how to use the seals for samples and other applications. FSIS Form 7355-2A/2B comes as a set of one seal and 6 ID labels on a strip, all with identical barcodes. The large seal is 7355-2A and secures the outer shipping box. It's the only true seal. There are also several smaller ID labels along the bottom right side of the strip. These labels identify the matching form and containers. Please note that the sample seal and labels are accountable items, so handle them as such. Attach the medium ID label 7355-2B to the larger plastic bag containing the 2 sample WorldPak bags. If you have small labels left over, return them with the sample to the lab. Place one small label on the top of the FSIS Form 10210-3 in the center of the page. Make sure you don't cover up any important information such as barcodes or written information. You may use the other small labels on the sample containers or shipping records maintained by the inspectors. Place both bags inside the larger plastic bag. Expel as much air as possible before closing. Once you've labeled and closed the sample, you need to package the sample correctly for shipping. Make sure you use only the cardboard separators and gel coolant packs provided in the shipping box. Place the large absorbent pad in the bottom of the shipping box, followed by the gel and coolant pack. Place the cardboard separator on the top of the coolant pack. Next, put the plastic bag containing the sample inside the box. Place the foam plug on top and firmly press to remove excess space in the container. Don't fill the remaining space with packing material. This causes problems at the laboratories. Insert the completed sample request form and any unused ID labels inside the plastic sleeve. Remember to include the sample request form in the shipping box. If the shipping container has self-sticking closures, be sure to close the inner flap first. Complete and sign the seal 7355-2A before placing it along the inside seam of the outermost flap. This covers the seam between the outer and inner box flaps. Fold the outermost flap shut to finish. No additional taping is necessary for self-sticking boxes. Use the FedEx stamp on the shipping container that matches the laboratory listed on the sample form. Fill in the plant number, ship date, and plant phone number. Sign the receipt and remove the top copy for your records. Place the stamp on the box to cover any previous stamped receipts. Remember, use only one FSIS Form 7355-2A/B per sample. Using more than one will result in a sample discard. So there you have it. Everything you need to know about N60 sampling. You might want to view this video a few times before doing the procedure. And check with your supervisor if something still isn't clear. Remember, Food safety is our first priority.